शिक्षण संस्था सातारा उत्तर विभाग ज्युनियर कॉलेज कला शाखा गुणवत्ता विकास कक्ष ग्रामसेवक तलाठी भरती परीक्षा मार्गदर्शन विषय इंग्रजी घटक सेंटेन्स करेक्शन मी बाराटे विठ्ठल लक्ष्मण RBN कॉलेज रामपूर. My dear friends, in this lecture we are about to discuss one of the topic from our competitive exam related to English, that is sentence correction. Welcome to this presentation on mastering sentence correction. In this session we will explore some grammatical errors and practical strategies to enhance your knowledge for competitive exams. My dear friends, in your competitive exams a sentence is given to you and that sentence consists error. You have to find out that error and try to rectify that error. Here there are some common errors in the sentences which makes the sentences incorrect. The common errors in the sentences are subject verb agreement error, pronoun error, tense consistency error, article error, parallelism error, adjective versus adverb error, and prepositional errors. We are about to discuss these errors in the sentences, how to find out these errors, how to correct those errors from the sentences. We are about to discuss them one by one. The first or the most common error in the sentence is subject verb agreement error. Subject verb agreement error happens when the subject and verb don't agree in number or case. My dear friends, subject verb agreement error happens when the subject and verb don't agree in number or case. Our rule says that a singular subject needs singular verb and a plural subject needs plural verb. But when there is or that agreement doesn't follow in the given sentence, that time this error occurs. So to avoid this error, we have to pay attention toward the subject and we have to take in account that if our subject is singular, our verb should be singular one, and if our verb is plural, if our subject is plural, our verb should be plural one. For example, the dog and cat is sleeping. If you pay attention toward the sentence, you will find that there is error in the sentence. Here the dog and cat are plural, but the verb is used there, which makes the sentence incorrect. Because our rule says that if our subject is plural, the verb should be in plural form. So the correct statement will be the dog and the cat are sleeping. Then the second sentence, each of the students are studying. Here if you pay attention toward the sentence, you will find that the subject is each of the student, which is singular. So the verb should be here, the verb that is given in plural form, it should be singular. So the correct statement will be each of the student is studying. Then apart from the disagreement in number, here when the subjects are joined by and, we have to use plural verb. If our subjects are joined by and, we have to use plural verb. For example, the teacher and the students were present in the meeting. Here the teacher and students are adjoined by conjunction, that is and, so we have to use where here, or so we have used where in this given sentence. Then the subjects joined by or not, the verb agree with the nearest subject. When our subjects are joined by or not, our verb agree with nearest subject. For example, either Ramesh or his friends are going to the market. Here we have used are because the verb agree with nearest subject, that is his friends. So we have used are in the sentence. So here we have learned that if our subject is singular, our verb should be singular one, and if our subject is plural, our verb should be plural. Apart from it, when our subjects are joined by and, that time we have to use plural verb, and when our subjects are joined by or not, that time our verb agree with nearest subject. After discussing it, we are turning towards the second error in the sentences, that is pronoun error. A pronoun must agree with the noun it's replacing in number and case. A pronoun must agree with the noun it is replacing in number or case. Here, my dear parents, noun, we use pronoun instead of noun. When we have to repeat the noun for the second time, we have to make use of pronoun. And when we are using that pronoun, it must agree in number or case with the noun. For example of numbers mismatch. Everyone should bring their own lunch. Here you will find that in this sentence we have used, or here there is a use of that. It is incorrect one, because everyone, it is, or everyone should, or everyone is a singular. So the proper pronoun should be his or her. So the sentence will be everyone should bring his or her own lunch. Then example of cases. Our rule says that subjective case is used for the subject of the verb. We have to use subjective case for the subject of verb. Which subjective case? That is I, we, he, she or they. My brother and me went to the store. Here there is mismatch in use of case of pronoun me, because my brother and me are the subject of the verb. So we have to use subjective case. So the correct statement will be my brother and I went to the store. The second example is that objective case is used for object of the verb or preposition. Objective case means we have to use me, us, him, her or them whenever we have to use those pronouns in the sentences. The prize was given to my sister and I. Here my sister and I are the object of the verb. So it should be in objective case. So we have to turn that I into me. The prize was given to my sister and me. So here we have learned that when the pronoun error consists in the sentences, we have to properly use it according to the number and case of the noun. Here we have seen the example of numbers, then example of case also. In example of number, if our pronoun is singular, when our noun is singular, we have to use a singular pronoun. When our noun is a plural, that time we have to use a plural pronoun. Then in subjective case, when our subjective case is used for the subject of the verb and the objective case is used for the object of the verb. After discussing the pronoun error, we are coming toward the third error, that is consisting in the sentence tense consistency error. My dear parents, this error happens when there is a sudden shift of tense in a sentence. When two clauses are given in the sentences, our rule says that we have to keep same tense in both of the clauses. But when there is a sudden shift of that tense in the sentence, that time this error happens. We have to maintain logical and consistent flow of time, keeping the verbs in the same tense unless clear shift in time is indicated. It means that if there are two clauses in the sentences, we have to use same tense in both of the clauses. If we change it, the tense consistency error will occur there. For example, she opened the door and heard a loud noise. In these two clauses, in the earlier part, there is use of simple past. In the second one, there is simple present. Our rule says that in both of the clauses, we have to use same clause or same tense. So the correct statement will be, she opened the door and heard a loud noise. Then, apart from it, when there are two actions happen in the past, the actions that happen earlier take past perfect, and the action that happens later on take simple past. For example, he left before I had arrived. In both the clauses, the action that happens earlier, that is he left, and arriving of that person is action that happens later on. So the action that happens earlier take past perfect. So the correct statement will be he had left before I arrived. So here we have learned that if the two clauses are given in the sentences, that time we have to keep the same tense in both of the clauses. And when that tense is changed or there is a sudden shift of time is given in the sentence, that time this error occur. So in order to avoid this error, we have to keep same tense in the both of the clauses. After discussing it, we are turning towards the next error in the sentences, that is article error. In our English language, there are 3 articles. When these articles are not used correctly, when they are omitted, or when they are used when they are not needed, that time this error occurs. An article error happens when articles are used incorrectly, omitted when needed, or included unnecessarily. To avoid this error, we must know the rules of when to use these articles. Here, indefinite articles in our English language are a or an, and the definite article there is only one, that is the. When we have to use a article, use a before words starting with consonant sound. Mind it, my friends, in our language, the singular countable noun begins with the consonant sound. We have to use a article, and when sometime, even though some countable singular noun begins with vowel sound but pronounced as consonant, that time we have to use a article. For example, university, though it begins with U, but it is pronounced as consonant, so we have used a here. Then when we have to use an article is used before countable singular noun begins with vowel sound. For example, an apple, it begins with a or vowel sound. Apart from it, there are some words which begins with consonant but pronounced as vowel. Before then, we have to use an article. For example, our, though it begins with consonant sound but pronounced as vowel, so we have used an here. Then the definite article, the is used before the unique thing. Then the specific nouns, the article is also used before those things which are mentioned earlier, and when we have to use those things next time or the next part also. So when we take in account these rules of articles, we will be able to avoid this error. For example, I have stated 2 examples here. A sun rises in the east. There is error in the sentence because sun is unique thing or only one thing. Before it, we have to use the article. So the correct statement will be the sun rises in the east. He is best player in the team. Here is error in this sentence because article is omitted. We have to use the article before best, because before superlative form of degree we use the article. So the correct statement will be he is the best player in the team. So here we have seen article error. Article error happens when articles are used incorrectly, omitted when needed, and included unnecessarily. To avoid this article error, we must know the rules when to use when to use an article, and when we have to use the article. If we master on the how to use these articles, we can easily avoid this error. Then the next error in the sentence is parallelism error. Parallelism error happens when all items in the list didn't follow the same grammatical structure. Means in the given sentence, the items of list that is given, it should be in the same grammatical structure. So here we can say that all items in the list must follow the same grammatical structure. For example, he likes reading, writing, and to swim. Here you will find that reading, writing is in gerund form, and to swim it is given in infinitive. Here, to avoid this error, we have to keep all the items in the list in the same grammatical form. So we have to turn the to swim into gerund form, that is swimming. So the correct statement will be he likes reading, writing, and swimming. Then apart from it, our rule says that we have to keep same part of speech. Means if there are nouns are given in the sentences, that time we have to keep the noun, all the words in noun forms. all in adjective forms or all in adverb forms. For example, the job requires honesty, hardworking, and you are punctual. Here, honesty and hardworking are given in adjective form. As on you are punctual, it is not given in its adjective form. Our rule says that we have to keep the same part of speech. So while turning this sentence into correct one, the correct statement will be the job requires honesty, hardworking, and punctuality. So in a parallelism error, our rule says that while using the list of items in the sentences, they should or we have to keep them in the same grammatical form. If we keep those words in the same grammatical form, we can easily avoid this error in the sentence. To identify this error, we have to pay attention towards the list of items and try to keep them in the same grammatical form. The next error after it, that is adjective versus adverb error. When this error happens, adjective versus adverb error happens when you use an adjective when adverb is needed. My dear friends, when there is need to use adjective, when we use adverb instead of it, when we have to use adverb, we use adjective, that time this error happens. Our rule says that if the word describes the subject, if the word is describing the subject, we have to use adjective. If it is describe the verb or other adjective, then we have to use adverb. My dear friends, if we have to describe the subject, we have to use adjective. If we have to describe verb or other adjective, that time we have to use adverb. We can easily form adverbs by adding ly to the given adjectives. For example, she performed beautiful on stage. Here the word beautiful is a describing verb, that is perform. So it should be in adverb form. So correct statement will be she performed beautifully on the stage. We have turned the adjective beautiful into beautifully because the word is describing verb. So we have to turn it into adverb form. Then the soup smells delicious. Here the correct statement will be the soup smells deliciously. The correct statement will be the soup smells delicious. Why we have turned the adverb with adjective? Because smells, it is a linking verb. And after linking verb, we have to use adjective forms, not adverb forms. So the correct statement will be the soup smells delicious. So here we have understood that when adjective adverb error occur, when we use them wrongly. When adjective is required, that time we use adverb. If adverb is required, when we use adjective, that time this error occur. And to avoid this error, first of all, we have to understand that when we are describing subject, we have to use adjective. And to describe verb or adjective, we have to use adverb. After it, we are coming to the last error that consists in the sentences, that is prepositional error. Prepositional error happens when we use it incorrectly, omit it, or wrongly or unnecessarily use the prepositions. What is preposition? Preposition shows the relationship between a noun and another word. It denotes the relationship between noun and another word. So, here I have stated some common structures of prepositions. Most common confusion while using agree. When we have to use agree, after it, if we are describing a person, we have to say that agree with person. After agree, we have to say agree to proposal, agree on topic. For example, I agree to you about the plan. Here, after agree, we are using a person. So, there is use of preposition to. It is incorrect. So, the correct statement will be, I agree with you about the plan. Just like agree, we have to use different. What combination of preposition should be different from when we are describing it in a positive form, and not different than when we are describing it in a negative manner. For example, this book is different than that book. Here we are using different in a positive term. So we have to say that this book is different from that book, not than that book. While using between here, while using between and among, we have to pay attention that when we are comparing between two things, we have to use between, and when we are comparing between more than two things, we have to use among. For example, the money was divided between the 3 children. The comparison is given between more than two. So we have to use among instead of between, because when we are comparing between two things, we have to use different. And when we are comparing more than two things, we have to use among. So, up to now, we have seen different errors in the sentences, and now it is your turn to pay attention towards these common errors. If you pay attention towards these common errors, then you will learn that how to avoid this error. My dear friends, mastering sentence correction is an ongoing journey. By understanding and applying these fundamental rules, you can significantly improve your writing clarity and impact. Thank you very much.
Okay.